Overwatch, the 2016 game of the year, with over 20 characters to play at its time, all with skins that completely transform their look, that could all be played on maps that took place across the world. At the time of its release on May 24, 2016, it was a game like no other. It literally took the world by storm, and a lot of people that you know probably has played Overwatch at one point. And on October 3rd, 2022, Overwatch 1 officially shut down. How did we get to this point? I mean, this is a game that literally won Game of the Year in 2016 with over 50 million copies sold and a professional esports league jump-starting alongside of it. And the obvious answer here is the sequel. Overwatch 2 will be replacing Overwatch 1 literally 27 hours after Overwatch 1 placed its final match. Overwatch 1 was a revolutionary game, and while admittedly Overwatch 2 is just gonna build upon the foundation of what Overwatch 1 created, it almost feels surreal that it's even getting replaced to begin with. Now, will Overwatch 2 ever match the hype that Overwatch 1 had when it first came out? I don't think so, and it's sad to say that, but the thing is, I don't think any game will ever match the hype that Overwatch 1 had, because at its time, it was just different. This was going to be a game made by Blizzard, a company that at the time was renowned for games like World of Warcraft and Hearthstone and Diablo, and now they're going into the FPS genre in a market that was already popularized by games like Call of Duty and Destiny. But what made this game so special and stand out in an admittedly crowded market was its colorful cast of characters to play, with heroes like a disgraced soldier from America, or a banished archer from Japan, a DJ that's a star in Brazil, and even a talking scientist from the moon. It truly is a perfect representation of what the tagline of this game means.
You know, the world could always use more heroes.
And I think that's applied more than just to the characters within the game. The Overwatch world welcomes everybody from all walks of life, both in-game, but more importantly, outside of the game. It doesn't matter if you have years of experience or if this is your first video game at all. You are welcome in the Overwatch world because you too can be a hero. And I know that sounds kind of cheesy and a little bit lame, but that's what made Overwatch so special, is that it welcomed everybody. And so when it released on May 24, 2016, everybody got in on the action. Everyone from casual gamers to professional esports pros were playing Overwatch, and while I didn't get to play on day one of its release, I heard it was a magical time. Not a perfect time by any means, but definitely a magical one. And while some people that have experience with shooters at the beginning got a little bit of a head start, what made this game so fun for a lot of people was that they were just playing a video game. They weren't trying to compete to be the very best like no one ever was. Nobody knew what a meta was. Nobody knew what the best hero was. They were just simply playing a video game. The victory that you could get at the end of the match was just a cherry on top of this beautifully crafted milkshake of a game. And I remember my first night officially playing Overwatch. I was a sophomore in college and I just got Overwatch from my Xbox into the mail because I just got done playing the free-to-play weekend and I had to own it. I ordered a pizza from Papa John's and I went into my dorm room to play and I was so ecstatic, but I didn't even know any of the characters' names. I only knew a Cowboy and the Soldier guy and this Grim Reaper guy. His name would obviously be Reaper, but first hero that I ever played, and this might surprise some of y'all, was Bastion. And I think that's a lot of people's first mains because Bastion, well, he's so good and so powerful. He shoots a lot of bullets and kills things very quickly until you get to level 10 and people figure out, oh, you just gotta shoot the robot that's standing still. And then as time went on, I started to learn more and more characters, and I eventually learned all the characters' names like Widowmaker and Soldier 76 and Mercy and Diva. But I'd also eventually find my main and my favorite hero, and it's probably the reason why I truly fell in love with Overwatch, Mei. At the time, everybody hated Mei, and when I first played Overwatch, I hated Mei, but I didn't know why I hated Mei, so I decided to try her out, and for whatever reason, I just had an absolute blast playing her. And I think the experience that I had with Mei is the experience that a lot of people also had within Overwatch, just finding a character that they just connected with, because when they see their favorite character, they know that's my character. Mei is my hero, and that sense of ownership is something that not a lot of video games have. Yeah, sure, League of Legends and other MOBA games have it, but something about Overwatch characters, it's just different. And I really do cherish that point in my life because that's when things, for me personally, just started to become better. I got a brand new girlfriend, I got a new game that reinvigorated my love for video games, and I started to make more YouTube videos covering Overwatch, and this game truly helped jumpstart my channel. Also, shout out to Stylosa, because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have gone all in into Overwatch. And something that always helps me just go back to that time in my life is hearing the Winter Wonderland music, because that's when I really started to play a lot of Overwatch. I remember I almost missed one of my exams because I was playing competitive so much, and every single time, whether it was a win or a loss, I was always greeted with that little jingle, seeing Mei and Lucio and all those characters just smiling on that screen. It really was one of my favorite times in my life because it was one of the best times in my life. But what made people continue to come back and continue to play this game for eventually years was just how smooth it was just how precise everything, the sounds, the colors, the ambience of the actual maps, everything about this game was near perfect. Now, I did say near perfect because even at the beginning of Overwatch, while a lot of people look at it with the rose-tinted colored glasses, was an absolute mess of a game. Lots of bugs, lots of glitches, where Tracer was able to get into the payload and stall off on Watch Point Gibraltar, where Roadhog's hook could literally go through walls. Even Blizzard, who has that world-famous Blizzard polish, couldn't make a perfect game. But it was close. It was very close. This game truly allowed you, the player, to express your type of playstyle. Did you want to play super agile and get a lot of kills? Then you played Genji.
You can't win classics.
Did you want to maybe stay back and support your team? Then Mercy was your go-to hero.
I'm not gonna be Mercy.
Or did you want to piss off your team? Then you played Torbjorn. And that personalization continued with things like loot boxes that granted you items to customize your favorite characters, whether it was voice lines that you can play during the game or highlight intros that you got after popping off in-game, and especially with skins allowing you to change the outfit of your favorite characters.
Oh, you cannot be serious!
And with initial launches like with events with the Summer Games or the first ever DLC hero Ana, which was all free for players to participate in, it really set the precedent for what Overwatch was gonna be for years on end. And even after that initial launch, things just got better for the game. I mean, we got more events, more heroes, more maps, more skins, and eventually the Overwatch League launched where it could allow the top tier Overwatch players to actually have a salary, to actually make money playing video games at a stable rate. Overwatch was on fire. It seemed like nothing could get in its way from being the #1 game of all time. But somewhere along the way, that flame just died out. I couldn't really tell you what was the peak of Overwatch, what really sent it on this spiral downfall that eventually would be Overwatch's ultimate demise to where it would lead itself to today. Some people would point towards Overwatch's very beginning where they added hero limits where only one hero could be played in a match, or maybe when the developers seemingly catered towards the Overwatch League players rather than the large majority of the player base, or maybe it was a nerf or buff to your favorite hero or least favorite hero that ruined your Overwatch experience, or maybe it was whatever this was. Or what a lot of people would point towards was an additional hero being added. While it was probably the best part about Overwatch, a free DLC character that brought a whole different dynamic to a game could also be a really good hero that could force a lot of players to need to play that game to win. And over time, a huge conflict of interest started to form within the Overwatch community. The interest of wanting to win the game and nothing but win, and the interest of wanting to have fun. Now, obviously, I'm in no position to tell somebody what they need to do. You don't need to have fun and you don't need to win. But what was so great about Overwatch was at the beginning, it almost seemed like you can have both. You can have fun and you can also win, but you can also lose. But even when you lose, you were still having fun. The fun came from not only the destination, but more importantly, the journey. Overwatch at its beginning truly gave you, the player, the ability to make your own fun. And then slowly all these rules started to come into play. And did these rules make the game better? Well, I don't know. I don't know if this was the cause of Overwatch's downfall, because something else that I also forgot to mention is that it wasn't just the game that people became distasteful of. It wasn't just the meta. It wasn't just the heroes. It was also the company that people just didn't like. I'd be naive and just downright stupid if I were just to ignore the fact that Blizzard had a huge part of Overwatch's downfall with all their allegations and sexual assaults and just Terrible, terrible things. Saying it's sad what happened at Blizzard is such a huge understatement that even just saying that does it an injustice. But what's also sad is that Overwatch had nothing to really do what was going on the Blizzard side of things, because what Jeff Kaplan did, it just goes to show of how good of a developer and... The Overwatch team is a subsidiary of the Blizzard company, but by association, they still are a part of what happened within Blizzard. And that's the saddest part, because I do know that, and I hate to compare it like this, but just like Reinhardt protecting his team, Jeff Kaplan tried his best to protect his team from the garbage that was going on at Blizzard. And it's still sad to look at it from the outside, because no matter how hard Jeff Kaplan tried, no matter how hard the Overwatch team tried, it still affected them. And eventually, started to affect the Overwatch community. There's an old saying that goes, you separate the art from the artist whenever something like this happens. But even before all these terrible things came to life, it grew increasingly harder to love this work of art when it almost seems unrecognizable. It's like a bunch of artists came to this single canvas and just smeared a bunch of paint on it to the point where maybe at one point it wasn't perfect, but it's definitely not the game that I fell in love with back in 2016. But even then, even after this game seemingly seems unrecognizable and uncomparable to the game that I fell in love with back in 2016, the sad part is, I still love this game. Maybe it's biasness because this game made my career, and some people might even say it's Stockholm Syndrome. But the thing is though, this is still one of the best video games out there. Just thinking where I'd be in life if it wasn't for my friend suggesting to play this game called Overwatch during this free-to-play weekend after he saw that I was absolutely heartbroken after getting broken up with my girlfriend. It's honestly a scary thought, because this game truly did change my life and took me to places that I never thought I'd ever go to. So while I'll give credit to my friend Tim, I also want to give credit to the Overwatch team, because they also made one of my favorite video game of all time. And hopefully when Overwatch 2 comes out, not only does the culture within Blizzard, or hopefully Microsoft changing the way that Blizzard operates Overwatch, that all changes to where you can say my favorite video game is Overwatch without being made to look like a clown. Overwatch 2 will be a special game because Overwatch 1 is a special game. And while a lot of people have their differences and opinions when it comes to hero balancing, you can't deny that within the game, it's a very special experience. And hopefully Overwatch 2 can remind people of that experience. So anyway guys, I'll see you on the other side in Overwatch 2. So this is my final Overwatch video, and I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. More Overwatch 2 videos to come tomorrow, and bye. And it's gone. Don't be sad because it ended. Be happy because it happened.